Today's sutta is a short and easy sutta, but a very important one for lay people, lay practice, and of course, in a way, for renunciants or monastics also, because it is actually a summary of it's a kind of a short version of the Sigalovada Sutta, and it also gives us in a very handy 4 steps what is called a gradual training. Okay, so these are some of the introduction. Let me see if I can get some notes on it. Now, Digha means long, Janu means knee, so long knee. So it's a nickname of this person. And Sutta, of course, is discussed. So you find in Buddha's time, a lot of people, they're addressed by their nicknames. No? Or you can translate this as the simply Dighajanu Sutta without translating it also. It is in 8.54. A means Anguttara Nikaya, that is the numbered or numerical sayings. 8 here means the book of 8s. There are 8 things, right? 4 blessings of in this world and 4 blessings in the hereafter. So totaling 8. 54 here is Sutta number 54. Now it's also called the Vyaggha Pajja Sutta because this is the family name, the actual family name of this person, Vyaggha Pajja, the discourse to Vyaggha Pajja. And the theme is the layperson's worldly and spiritual welfare, right? So, and there are notes here, you can look on your own. Okay, let's go on further down to the translation. The Dighajanu Sutta, further down, yeah. Let's go to discuss the Dighajanu A 8.54. Thus have I heard. So as usual, this is Sutta heard by Ananda. Either he himself heard this directly from the Buddha, or he was retold this by the Buddha. And then he recites this again during the first council for the other monks to remember and then pass it down to other monks and right down to our time. So here we have this amazing sutta in front of us after 2,500 years. To just have this sutta on your screen in English is itself very amazing, that we have this teaching given by this remarkable man, the Buddha, in very beautiful and liberating language. And here we have it in a language we can understand. The original sutta, of course, is in Pali. At one time, the Blessed One was staying amongst the colliers in their market town called Kakarapata. So this is in northern India. The colliers are kind of Sakyans, so they kind of related to the Sakyans. So they are in North India. And notice in this case, it's a market town. And this is very significant because India during the Buddhist time, that northern Gangetic plain, you find it is growing economically, the peace was growing, and people are becoming more prosperous. So what happened here is that some people would, hawkers, some people will come and sell things at the crossroads. So they'll set up stalls just like that on the ground, like a night market. And then slowly these stalls become more permanent, and then buildings start coming up. So this town at the crossroads is called a market town, right? So you have the village, then you have the towns and the market towns and the cities. So more or less these are the categories of the urbanization process going on in the central Gangetic plain during the Buddha's time. So these are the colliers, and then there is this man called Dighajanu, 1.2. Then Dighajanu, a native of Kolya, approached the Blessed One, saluted him, and sat down at one side. Sitting thus at one side, he said this to the Blessed One. So here we have someone coming to the Buddha and talking to him, coming up with a question, right? Just one more note, right? Going back to the first line, you notice the suttas always start with this at one time. It is, although the place is mentioned, but the date is not usually mentioned. We don't know the exact date. Because this sutta is not handed down to us as history, it is handed down to us as a kind of trans-historical teaching. In other words, it's something beyond time, something to free us from time, to free us into the unconditionality of nirvana, if you like. So at one time means any time, right now. When we are looking at this sutta is being taught again to us. This sutta is coming back to us. This teaching is coming back to us. The Buddha is teaching us right now through this sutta. And all we need is just keep our attention. So it's amazing, just simple as that. So this man, Dighajanu, comes to the Buddha, sitting down. So normally, out of respect, if the Buddha is sitting down, he also would sit down. And then he asks the Buddha. He calls the Buddha Bhante. Notice, Bhante, we are laymen who enjoy sensual pleasures. We dwell in a home crowded with children. We enjoy Kasi sandalwood, or if you modernize this, you might say Paris perfume, if you like. Okay, Kasi is a famous town in India, famous for its luxury goods, including this very fragrant sandalwood. We wear garlands, scents, and makeup, right? So just like today, we also have makeup, so we wash our face and so on. We enjoy gold and silver. In other words, money. We use jewelry and money. So here you have this man saying, look, we're laymen, you know, we can't become monks, right? Bhante, to such as us, let the Blessed One teach the Dhamma, teach those things that lead to the welfare and happiness, both in this life and the hereafter. Right? So this is the question. How do we as laymen become happy right now and also in future lives? In other words, we progress in our practice also. So this is the question. All right, let's go further down, see what happens now. So this is quite direct, and the Buddha gives this teaching in two very neat parts. The four teachings in each section. The first section is here, A, worldly welfare, right? So we probably cover this in the first half of our study, and then B will be on spiritual welfare. So that's how you get the number 8, and then this sutta is class in the book of 8s. All right, now the Buddha starts teaching. He says, and notice in this teaching, the Buddha is very informal. He just tells this man Dighajanu just whatever he wants to say. He doesn't say, get ready now, I'm going to teach you, because the Buddha is not going to talk anything really profound, like he's teaching the monks meditation and so on. And here he straight away teaches the Dhamma. These things, these 4 things, Vyaggha pajja, lead to the welfare and happiness of a son or family in this very life. What are the 4? All right. So this is like a statement of the thesis. The Buddha said, okay, I'm going to tell you 4 things. All right. And he addresses this man by his family name, kind of being polite to him. He doesn't use the nickname. He calls by his family name. And he speaks of a son of family, Kulaputta. Here is just a general term, meaning anyone who has a family, respects the family, and who looks up to the family and who lives to benefit the family. And this idea of family is very important in this case, because you have 2 approaches to Buddhism, if you like, early Buddhism. One, as the Buddha, as you know, he left home, right? So you have the homeless training, if you like, the renunciation training as monks and nuns. Now, with the lay people also knowing the Buddha's teaching, they also want to learn as lay people. So this is the other training, the training of the householder, the layman's training. Right? So this way we have this kind of teaching for the son of family. In other words, these are people who are not monks and they have families, or they could be a young man who is part of a family also. So this idea of a family is very important. So you have the Sangha. The Sangha is a non-biological family where everyone who joins the Sangha, he gives up his social status, no matter what caste or level of society, rich or poor. They are all the same once they become monks. They are like the rivers of the rivers that flow into the oceans. So you find the many rivers, they all have their names, unique names when they're flowing on land. But once the waters go into the ocean, the water is simply called the ocean, the great ocean. So the Sangha is like this great ocean, where those who renounce, they are simply called bhikkhu, bhikkhuni, they're called renunciants, right? And then you have the lay people who are part of the family, and that is the biological family. And they can still be happy, they can still enjoy social pleasures within the 5 precepts, within the safety of the 5 precepts, if you like. We'll talk more about this in a moment, okay? So here is the family situation, if you like. And here the Buddha is going to tell this man how to be happy in this very life itself, how to be happy in a mundane way, in a normal human way, as a non-renunciant, as a family man, basically. So this of course, addresses you and I quite directly. So first, the Buddha starts with a summary, section 2. These are the 4 things the Buddha is going to talk about. So he lists them. But 1, the accomplishment of diligence. Uttana sampada. Notice the word sampada repeats. So in fact, all these 4 are regarded as sampada. Sampada means accomplishment, doing something very well. You become good in this. Uttana, okay? Uttana means kind of bringing something up, making it happen. So this is called diligence, being hardworking, full of positive energy, taking initiative to do good things, to do for yourself in terms of being happy here and now, the accomplishment of diligence. Number 2, the accomplishment of watchfulness, araka sampada. The word raka also already means protect, okay? So araka means watchfulness, also means protect, right? You protect whatever things you have gathered through your diligence. Sampada, accomplishment of watchfulness. Number 3, spiritual friendship or good friendship, if you want to translate it literally. Kalyana means good, beautiful, Kalyana. You have a girl's name, Kalyani, okay, meaning beautiful. And then mitta, mitta means friend. Mittata is the abstract noun, friendliness, friendship, mittata. Kalyana mitta is the person. Kalyana mittata is the state. Kalyana mitta, spiritual friend. Kalyana mittata, spiritual friendship. Then the next word, you notice there's a ta, a T and a long R. Again, jivita. Sama jivita. Okay. Now, if you know Malay, you know sama means same, right? Yeah, in fact, it's the same word. It comes from this word from Sanskrit. Sanskrit also sama jivita. Balanced livelihood, okay? So sama here means balance, kind of keeping them in the same level. Jiva means life in this case. Jiva and jivita means living, livelihood. Sama jivita, a balanced living. So there you are. These are the 4 things we need to succeed in this life as lay people. Diligence, being hardworking. Watchfulness, being careful. Spiritual friendship, making the right kind of friends, good friends, and keeping a balanced life. Now that's very good advice, isn't it? These 4 accomplishments or 4 skills, if you like. Now the Buddha is going to elaborate on each of them. Okay, so you see section 4, and then there's this round brackets. 1 is the same as this one, is to help to guide your eye to show you this is what the Buddha has explained. So here the Buddha asks the questions again. See, what is the accomplishment of diligence? Uttana sampada. So you find this oral tradition, there's nothing written, there's no notes like what you have here. So the Buddha repeats himself so that the audience can clearly know and not forget what the Buddha is talking about. Here, Vyaggha pajja, by whatever means a son of family earns his living, whether by farming, by trading, by cattle herding, by archery, by serving in the civil service, or by any kind of craft. At that, he is skillful and not lazy. Notice that's quite simple and direct, skillful and is not lazy. He has a sharp inquiring mind as to the ways and means to accomplish his tasks. This Vyaggha pajja is called the accomplishment of diligence. So here you have the beginning line and an ending line. See? So these 2 lines encapsulate the answer, right? So let's look a bit more closely what the Buddha has said here. Now, first of all, notice the Buddha mentioned certain jobs here. Now, notice these jobs, they are good jobs, so to speak. No killing and so on, right? Of course, you might say, what about archery, all right? So here, archery is a skill for practice and not necessarily going to war. So it is teaching the skill of archery. The Buddha as a prince was himself very good in archery anyway, and serving in the civil service. So notice Buddha did not mention serving in the army and things like that. So this only right livelihood mentioned here. Farming is very common. It's the most common occupation in the central Gangetic plain of North India at that time. The land was flat and fertile because it was a plain, okay? and the river Ganges runs through it. Trade was growing, and you find the ships even go overseas, coming to Southeast Asia, to Kedah, to probably Singapore also, and to North Borneo and Sarawak and so on, and of course Indonesia, and maybe Thailand too, Myanmar and so on. Then cattle herding for milk, right? And archery, of course, to train people. And then working in the government, the civil service, serving the king, in other words, yeah. Or by any kind of craft, yeah. So here, maybe as a teacher and so on, right? So these are some of the trades well known in the Buddha's time. And in this, the Buddha simply saying you should really be good at what you're doing and be diligent, not be lazy. But the Buddha adds something important here. He says, we should have a sharp inquiring mind regarding our work, especially how to get our work done. So here is where he's saying, basically, know your job well, learn the means of problem solving, and use them. Be good at it so that you will prosper. So you want to prosper? This is the way. That is very good advice, isn't it? I mean, you're talking about job maintenance or job quality. This is the phrase. This is called accomplishment of diligence. Okay. Then, number 2, what is the accomplishment of watchfulness, araka sampada, says the Buddha. And he defines it. Here, Vyaggha pajja, whatever wealth the son of family receives through work and zeal, gathers by the strength of his arms, earns by the sweat of his brow, and justly obtains by right means, such he guards and watches over, so that kings would not seize it. How does a king seize your property? Well, of course, you've broken some laws, or you're not paid taxes, and so on. Or when someone dies intestate. In other words, this person, especially a rich person, has not made a will, has not announced who's going to take over when he dies. And so you find this law is quite ancient. So if this person, especially someone with property, a rich person, has a will, he makes no announcement who is going to take over his wealth, then the king will take over everything. In fact, what will happen is that the king will send in all his guards to the house and they will remove all those property to the palace. So the kings would seize it. This is the law. So dying intestate is not very wise. So it's good that this person makes a will, or at least make known who's going to take over his property. So we should be very watchful in this way, protect the wealth that we have. Number two, thieves will not steal it. This is quite obvious, isn't it? We should guard our wealth and money and so on in such a way that robbers will not take it away. Of course, in modern ways, we keep our money in the bank. We make sure our house is safe, with strong windows and doors and protection and so on. So make sure thieves do not steal your property. I mean, it'd be very foolish to bury your gold in your backyard and so on, right? So this is to do it. Make sure your wealth is safe by doing the right thing. And then next one is make sure fire will not burn it, right? Safety in the house. So here, make sure it's not destroyed by fire. Now, then the next one is water. Water will not wash it away. The floods will not wash it away. Now, these two things are very interesting. Fire will not burn it, and water will not wash it away. Now, in our modern terms, right, I love telling this to insurance people, and if they will smile, they'll be very happy. They say, wow, Buddhism teaches insurance, right? Investing in insurance. When you invest in insurance, if you lose your property to fire or floods, you get compensation. So make sure you know all these things. I'm not sure whether in the Buddhist time they have something like what in the insurance you have today, probably not. Well, basically here wise man is just keep your property safe from all these dangers. So notice here, in our times, we have to update the interpretation, right? So nowadays, if you open your mind, you say, okay, what does this mean today? We say, wow, yeah, this means insurance or assurance in the US. So in a way, you find that if you invest your money in the insurance, you are sure to get back some money rather than investing, saving it in a bank and getting some kind of interest. It's not so much nowadays. The banks are simply using our money to get rich, and we don't benefit that much. Investments are a little tricky. It is by chance, very often by chance, or you really must know what's going on with the algorithms of shares and so on to make all those money. And all those money you make means someone else is losing those money. So in that sense, it's not really good. So safeguarding your wealth from being washed away, from being burned, is a very important understanding of making sure your wealth is safe and you can use it in any way you want it. And then the last one is very interesting. The last one says that unloving heirs will not take it away, right? So in other words, relatives who don't really care about you, don't care about the family, and they'll just waste away the money or take away the money, and then you will become poor. You face all kinds of economic problems, right? So these are things you have to watch out. So this is where you have to keep the family together, keep the family strong, and make sure they understand the importance of all these teachings. That's why the Buddha is teaching this, right? So this is called the accomplishment of watchfulness. Right? So once again, what did the Buddha say? He says, here Vyaggha pajja, whatever wealth the son of family receives through work and zeal, gathers by the strength of his arms, earns by the sweat of his brow, and justly obtains by right means, not illegally, not by cheating, not by forcing people through laws and so on, but right means, compassionate means, proper means. Such he guards and watches over so that kings would not seize it, thieves would not steal it, fire would not burn it, water would not wash it away, unloving heirs would not take it away. This Vyaggha pajja is called the accomplishment of watchfulness. All right, now the next one is number 3. Then Buddha asked, what is spiritual friendship? Kalyana mittata. Here, Vyaggha pajja, in whatever village or market town the son of family dwells. Now here, of course, from this sentence, you can guess probably this Dighajanu is quite a young man, his son of family. He associates, converses, discusses with householders or householders' sons, young men mature in virtue, and old men mature in virtue. Whether they're young or old, they're good people. All right? Endowed with faith, moral virtue, charity, and wisdom. This is spiritual friendship. Okay. Okay. Let me explain this first, and we go to the next part. Okay. There's another section actually. Now, so here the Buddha is telling this person, Dighajanu, he says, make sure you have good friends, people who are virtuous, whether they're young or old. They have good qualities. And what are these good qualities? They are faith, saddha, moral virtue, sila, charity, chaga, and wisdom, panya. All right. Now, I won't explain these 4 in detail here because these 4 qualities actually form the spiritual happiness. They come up in the spiritual section, where the Buddha gives more details. Notice I put a section 11 here, so it's mentioned in section 11 where the Buddha starts to talk about the spiritual happiness of a lay person. So basically here the Buddha is saying, make sure the kind of good friends you have, the kind of friends you have are good people from whom you can be happy and you can learn. Okay. And what you do with these people, okay, this is come to the next section where you can see 6.2. He emulates the faith of the faithful, the virtue of the virtuous, the charity of the charitable, and the wisdom of the wise. So here are the 4 qualities again, the 4 noble growth, as they are sometimes called. These are the 4 things that make us grow as noble people, those who keep to the path. First, the Buddha is saying this person has faith, meaning faith in the 3 jewels. He understands that the Buddha as a teacher, someone we emulate. We know the Buddha was human and the Buddha struggled to awaken, so we can do that too. And faith in the Dhamma, the teaching, which we practice by ourselves, for ourselves, by self-reliance, leading us to the path of awakening. And he has faith that there are those who will benefit from these teachings, and whether they become renunciants as monks and nuns or as lay people. So this is the noble sangha. So he has faith in this. So here the Buddha is saying you should follow the faith of the faithful. Why is this repetition? Because the Buddha is saying you don't just follow what people say. You see this person, he is faithful, and you follow his example, not his words, in other words. So in the same spirit, the Buddha says in the second line, the virtue of the virtuous. Right? You see those who are morally virtuous, who keep the precepts, and you follow the example of that kind of person. Not just those who talk, but those who actually practice by watching them, you too will want to become happy, keeping the precepts just like them. You become morally virtuous just like them. And then the charity of the charitable. Right? So you find people who are kind and giving. This will be defined in greater detail later on. The charity of the charitable. So here again, you see people who are by nature kind, compassionate, and generous, and you follow their example, then you become good like them, happy like them. And the most important of all is the wisdom of the wise. Look around for those wise people and learn how to be wise, even as a layman. So, and all this will be defined in greater detail in a while in the second part, right? So, as a layperson, there are 4 qualities we should bear in mind when we make friends: that they have faith, there are those with virtue, moral virtue, there are those with charity, and those with wisdom. Right? So those are, if people ask you, what kind of friends should I make? So these are the 4 qualities you can bear in mind. This Vyaggha pajja is called the accomplishment of spiritual friendship. All right. Now the Buddha goes on to the 4th and last quality of happiness here and now of the layperson. Section 7, this is the accomplishment number 4. What is balanced livelihood? Sama jivita. Okay. Here Vyaggha pajja, the son of family, knowing his income and expenses, lives within his means. Wow. The Buddha sounds like an accountant, right? So you see the Buddha is just talking about income and expenses. It's not a normal kind of language he would use when it talks about meditation and so on. So he's speaking to lay people like us. So we should know how much money we get, and we should watch our expenditure and live within our means, live within this kind of situation. Being neither extravagant nor stingy. Here again, avoiding the extremes of being really scroogey, and the other extreme is being wasteful. Right? Here being scroogey, here extravagant means being wasteful. Considering thus his income will stand in excess of his expenses. Always making sure that you have more money than what you're spending to be safe. Right? Don't get into debt, in other words. But not his expenses in excess of his income. So don't spend more than what you have, right? So of course here you have to be very careful, because sometimes in modern times the bank will send you very nice letter, even send you ahead a nice card, kind of a card you use for spending, right? So the card is to encourage you to spend, and then you owe the bank money. Now that's not very good. In fact, that's regarded as wrong livelihood, and we should not encourage it. So be very careful of those kind of tricks, because then you end up not having enough money, and then they will send you a lawyer's letter, and you get yourself into a lot of difficulties. All right. So just bear this in mind about income, right? So the Buddha is quite serious about this. Is telling us to be mindful of our income and expenditure, so that we are happy as lay people. And this last point is so important. The Buddha gives a parable. 7.2 is a parable. Notice this, it's under number 4 here. Just as a salesman, someone who sells weighing kind of this ancient weighing machine where you hold it up, in your hands. You don't see these things around nowadays. Just as a salesman or his apprentice knows on holding up the scales that by so much it has dipped down, and by so much it has tittled up, even so a family, knowing his income expenses, lives within its means, being neither extravagant nor stingy, considering thus his income will stand in excess of his expenses, but not his expenses in excess of his income. Right. So here, this person, this salesman, he holds up this scale. Right. So you find there are two containers. One will, the weight will be put in, and then the other thing is the goods to be sold. So and there is this needle in the middle, which will show him whether it's balanced or not. So that's how people measure this. If you go to the traditional market, you might still see this, but it's very rare nowadays. People use digital weighing machines and so on, but this is the old style of weighing machine. So here, when we say balance, we literally means this is also called a balance, okay, a balanced scale. Now, the Buddha has a bit of humor next in this last part. It says, if Vyaggha, a son of family with little income, leads a luxurious life, there'll be those who say, this son of family enjoys his wealth like a fig eater. All right. So here, this person doesn't have much money, but he spends a lot and he owes a lot of money and so on. So it's like a fig eater. Now the fig eater is a parable, it's a simile. Here, these fig trees, they have a round little ripe, like cherry-like fruit. And a person who wants to eat just a few fruits, they shake the tree and lots of these ripe fruits will fall. And you can't eat everything. And so a lot is wasted, right? So here you just take a bit, but you waste all those other fruits. So this person does not really enjoy everything that he could otherwise enjoy. Like, so in that sense, he's not really happy. He can't enjoy everything that he wants. And he should accept that because he doesn't have the income. So he has to live within his income and be happy that way, or work harder and get more money. Now, then there is the other person, 7.4. If Vyaggha, a son of family with a large income, rich person, leads a mean life. So, he is Scroogey, doesn't want to even buy necessary things for his health and happiness. And there'll be those who say, this son of family will die of starvation, right? So it's quite obvious. I mean, he's rich, but he's so Scroogey, right? In a sense, most rich people are Scroogey. That's how they become rich. And they feel they should protect their money, right? So here, basically, we should spend just enough for our health, our benefit, and be happy with our friends and family, and keep a balanced life in that sense. This Vyaggha is called balanced living. All right. So now it's just nice. It's around 9 o'clock now, so we're going to take a break here. Let's continue with from section 8. All right. Okay, we were still in continuing on the 4 ways of being happy in this life itself. All right. So now in section 8, the Buddha goes on talking about wealth, right? So he tells this Dighajanu, there are these 4 ways of losing wealth thus built up. So here is an echo from the Sigalovada Sutta. The Buddha is basically saying, how do you lose wealth? Now here, of course, remember, this the Buddha is talking to this man or young man, perhaps. So the language, by modern standards, seems to be kind of sexist, right? Because it's addressing a man, all right? So we should not judge this by this modern standard here, and just take Sutta as it is. So here the Buddha is telling this man, Dighajanu, you will lose your wealth that you worked so hard for if you womanize. Number 1, through womanizing. Of course, if it's addressed to woman, this would indirectly also mean lechery. In other words, living an immoral life, getting drunk and things like that, and getting into affairs. You have lots of problems with that nowadays. No? So basically, be happy with your family, and if you have a girlfriend or boyfriend, that's fine, but loyalty, friendliness, and kindness, knowing each other, like learning and loving, that's how it should be when it comes to lay life. basically, in real life, I think a simple rule of thumb would be to live is to love is to learn, and to learn is to grow. So if you can remember this very simple line, it helps you to live this kind of happy lay life with a partner, with a family. Number two, we lose our wealth, we waste money through addiction to drinking. Right? This is mentioned in detail in the Sigala Sutta, if you remember. We pay for drinks, and we also pay for with our health, things like that, right? So it's something, one of the teachings, very important key teachings in early Buddhism, which Western Buddhists very often find difficulty keeping up. This is a real issue. So, but you find these Western Buddhists are very serious, so they work very hard to make adjustments. So they, many of them, like those in Italy and in Scotland, they drink. So how do they find the middle way here? So they tell me that when it comes to retreats or special days where they do their meditation, they don't drink. Or if they do have festivals, they do have a festive dinner and so on, they do have some drinks, because it is unthinkable during their social events they don't drink. So in this case, they have to be mindful. They drink moderately so that they do not get drunk. So you have to make adjustments here in this case, right? Because this is a social teaching. So as a social teaching, you can make those sensible adjustments. Of course, we have to be very careful not to say, oh, this rule doesn't apply, we have to throw it out. And once you do that, of course, if you throw one out, you're going to throw the rest out too. So it's a matter of whether you want to respect the Dhamma or not, okay? And number three, of course, is quite clear. Addiction to gambling is a sure way of losing your hard-earned wealth, right? So it's something you can imagine, how can you simply put in a bit of money and get more money? If you do by chance win something in gambling, someone else has lost that money, right? So it's like that. So if you once you go to a gambling den, you just go there to lose, basically. So don't gamble. It's better to work hard, have your money, and be happy that way. And number four, another sure way of losing money is keeping bad company. This is the opposite of spiritual friendship, and these are people who are out to cheat you and make you waste your money. And you go around in Singapore, you find a lot of people tell you stories how they make the wrong kind of partners and friends, and they lose a lot of money that way, right? So be very careful. Never think that just because you put in a little, you're going to get a lot. It doesn't work like that. You have to put in your energy, and that energy converts into wealth. That's how you do it. Now then the Buddha uses a parable, 8.2. Just as in the case of a great tank, a water tank, with 4 inlets and 4 outlets. If a man were to close the inlets and open the outlets, and there were to be no proper rainfall, a loss is to be expected in the tank, not a gain. Even so, Vyaggha pajja, these are the 4 sources of loss of wealth: womanizing, addiction to drinking, addiction to gambling, bad company, right? And how do you accumulate wealth? It's just the opposite of the aforementioned. These are the 4 ways of accumulating wealth, causes of growth of wealth, thus built up: not womanizing, not addicted to drinking, not addicted to gambling, and spiritual friendship. Right? So these are basically keeping the precepts. So this is how you protect your wealth. Just as a great tank with 4 inlets and 4 outlets, and a man were to open the inlets and close the outlets, and there were to be proper rainfall. Rainfall here means your hard work. A gain is to be expected in the tank, not a loss. Even so, Vyaggha pajja, there are these 4 sources of the growth of wealth: not womanizing, not addicted to drinking, not addicted to gambling, spiritual friendship. Okay. All right, further down. These are the 4 things that lead to happiness of a son of family here and now. Now we come to the second part where the Buddha talks about spiritual welfare, spiritual happiness, happiness in the hereafter as a Buddhist practitioner. Section 10. There are these 4 things, Vyaggha pajja, that lead to the welfare and happiness of the son of family in the world to come. What are the 4? Okay, here we have the 4 accomplishments again. Remember, we talked about them early on. The accomplishment of faith, saddha sampada. The accomplishment of moral virtue, sila sampada. The accomplishment of charity, tyaga sampada. The accomplishment of wisdom, panya sampada. So in a way, these 4 are sequential, starting with 1 and build up 2, 3, and 4. In fact, today I was working on another essay, and I was comparing this part, section 11, to another sutta, which is the sutta is A10.61, all right, which talks about the mindfulness and awareness, and this sutta A10.61 talks about what I call the 10 steps or 10 stages gradual training. Okay, so this 4 is expanded to those 10. You'll find this comparison in my latest work, SD 60.1E, section 1.3.4, right? I'll mention it a bit more later. So here, again, what is faith? Okay, the Buddha defines faith in section 12. What is the accomplishment of faith? Saddha sampada. Here, Vyaggha pajja, the son of family has wise faith. All right, so here's not just faith, it is wise faith, or technically it's called avijja pasada, or the wisdom that sees. He has faith in the Buddha's awakening. Thus, notice he has faith in the Buddha's awakening. The fact that there is this Buddha, that it is possible to be Buddha. Thus, so too is he the Blessed One, for he is an Arhat, the fully self-awakened one, accomplished in wisdom and conduct, wayfarer, knower of worlds, fearless guide of tameable persons, teacher of gods and humans, awakened, blessed. This Vyaggha pajja is called the accomplishment of faith. All right, so this is the usual traditional explanation. There are many ways of talking about this. Basically, faith here means you practice this, you feel the joy and the peace, and other people also notice it, and we know this will make us happy. This is one way of looking at it. Faith, in other words, you have tried it yourself, you know it works for yourself, you know you feel happy, you feel good, and you feel closer to your family and your friends, and your wealth is not wasted, your life is not in danger, and so on. Now here we have this reflection on the Buddha. These are the 9 virtues of the Buddha. Basically here it means that the Buddha, he is an Arhat here. He is one of those, just like any other Arhat, he's the first among equals, so to speak. The only difference is that he is the first to arise in this world. So in that sense, he is primus, the first inter pares. The other Arhats are all equal in that sense that they are awakened, just like him. So that's the meaning of Arhat. Of course, this teaching became different in later teachings in Mahayana and so on. They start saying Arhats are not fully enlightened and so on. I wouldn't go there. That is wrong, very serious wrong views. So here Arhat, the Buddha is an Arhat, just like all the other Arhats. So this is the first quality. Then the second quality, fully self-awakened one. Here the Buddha himself practiced, and by his own self-effort, he became awakened. He awoke himself, right? So we also can take that path if we choose to. Then the next one, accomplished in wisdom and conduct. His understanding of things is reflected in his conduct, in the way he behaved. It's not like he says, oh, I'm special because I have this knowledge. They both go together. His actions reflect his mind goes in harmony with his actions, right? He's a welfarer, in other words, he's happy wherever he goes and he brings happiness wherever he goes. Knower of worlds, here meaning he understands what it means to live in a world. What kind of worlds here? You have the physical world of space and time. You have this the world of humans, the world of living beings. Those are well known. You can't do much with those things. But the third kind of world is called the world of formation, Sankhara Loka. Sankhara Loka. It's the world that we create in our own mind, and we live in that kind of virtual world through our delusion. This is what the Buddha is teaching us to overcome. So in that sense, he knows the different types of worlds that are around us. Fearless guide of tameable people, tameable persons. So he's able to train those who are willing and able to learn. Anybody who wants to change, be happy, he's able to train them. And here his teaching is there. You find he's changing the lives of millions, even today, 2,500 years after his time. And next line is very interesting, the teachers of gods and humans. Now, this is a bit tricky to interpret, okay? Of course, here, does it mean that we should believe that there are gods up there, different kinds of devas? Well, I don't know. That's the first thing I must say. But what I like to say, in a futuristic sense, it's possible that the Buddha is talking about that there are living beings in other parts of space. There are aliens, for example. So he has taught them even. So that's one way of looking at it. Okay. So of course, don't take me as a gospel truth in this sense. Just take it possibility here. Who knows, in the future there will be people from other planets, other parts of the universe, and then we meet them, and you find it makes sense to talk about Buddhism. I mean, it doesn't make sense to talk about a God who creates a world, and those people from other planets will say, no, we don't believe in such a God because we live in a different universe, you know. So this idea that the Buddha teaches humans and aliens is amazing. So this is a futuristic kind of vision. And of course, the Buddha is awakened. He himself is seen the truth for himself, and then he's blessed. It's just a joy to know about him. So these are the 9 virtues. We accept this, we know this, and we examine this, we reflect on this. In that sense, we have faith in the 3 jewels. The next one, 13. What is the accomplishment of moral virtue? Sila Sampada. Okay, this is very straightforward. You all know this very well. Here, Vyaggha Pajja, the son of family, abstains from harming life. This is the first precept, Panatipata Viramani. Abstains from taking the not given. Abstains from sexual misconduct. Abstains from false speech. And then the last one, abstains from strong drinks, distilled drinks, fermented drinks, and that which causes heedlessness. This Vyaggha Pajja is called the accomplishment of moral virtue. All right. Now, once again, let me basically tell you why there are these 5 precepts. I like repeating this because it's very important to know. Very often we forget the basic things. These 5 precepts begins with not harming life, not killing. Why? Because of the value of life. If you ask yourself, what is the most valuable thing we have in this whole universe? The simple answer is life, our life. And all living beings, by their nature, love their life. No animal will come up to you and let you kill it. No intelligent animal would do that anyway. The important thing is life is precious. We all love our life, and we should respect that. Without life, there's nothing else. That's as basic as that. So, first precept is a precept of natural morality. We should not kill because life is precious. Everyone loves their life, and life is what makes us what we are right here, right now. And that's what we can know without bringing other things which we do not know. Okay, like who created us and so on, because that won't make sense. Number two, second precept is against taking the not given. So here, if you love life, you can't just live. You need something to support life. And not only that, you have to be happy because of that kind of support. So we work. Through working, we make our life worthwhile. We find happiness. So if someone were to take away those things we have worked for, which is rightfully ours, then that would not be fair to our life. So taking the not given, stealing, is wrong because of the value of happiness. The second value is happiness, because what we work, what we have, makes us happy. So no one has the right to take that away. So this is the second value. Now the third value is even more interesting, right? You have life and you have property. You need freedom. The third precept is against sexual misconduct. Why? Because sexual misconduct is the most violent, the most blatant violation of personal freedom. In Buddhism, even a wife can tell the husband, sorry dear, not tonight. And the husband has to respect the wife for that, right? So in that sense, there is this equality of the sexes. So here, the third precept is to respect the other person's person, to give the other person this space, this freedom to think and live the way he or she wants to live. Right? So this is one way of putting it very simply, the value of freedom. It is violated through sexual misconduct. This is the most gross example, because it also means hurting someone and abducting the person and so on and so forth, right? And number four makes very good sense. It's against false speech, because this fourth precept protects the value of truth. Truth is valuable here because without truth, whatever we have said before in the other three situations are false. So it won't be very useful with it. So it has to be truthful, right? That goes almost without saying. And then the last one, fifth precept, okay? Now, this one is, again, how do we explain this? Why does the Buddha instruct us not to get drunk? So here, this precept is against clouding up our mind so that we keep this most precious faculty we have, the mind, calm and clear. And the value here is, you can use the word mind, mindfulness, right? Even wisdom. When I'm talking with those psychologists in the university, I use the mindfulness because they are studying mindfulness. So it is very important that we have mindfulness, the value of mindfulness. So we cultivate our mind because it is through the mind that we rise from our present situation. We become humans, and from this state we become divine through meditation, and then we free ourselves even beyond the divine to enter nirvana. So this mind, this mindfulness is very important, of value to us, even beyond the other four values. So these are the five precepts. They show how we protect the five values. Okay. Section 14. Now this is the third blessing in the future blessing, if you like, spiritual benefit of living the Buddhist life. What is the accomplishment of charity? Chaga sampada. Here, Vyaggha pajja, the son of family, dwells at home with a heart free from the stain of stinginess, devoted to charity, open-handed, delighting in giving, devoted to almsgiving, delighting to have a share in giving. This Vyaggha pajja is called the accomplishment of charity. Giving is a very important aspect of Buddhism. And you find this quality has seeped through almost the whole of Asia, at least traditional Asia. Asians, as a rule, tends to be generous. You find when Asians meet each other, one of the first things they ask is, have you taken your food, for example? And if you visit an Asian home, the traditional family, they will invite you to a meal, right? So this idea of giving is very important. So here, of course, charity begins at home. Right? He dwells at home with a heart free from the stain of stinginess. So here you have this wonderful saying, and this is the provenance. This is where the saying is first recorded. Devoted to charity and open-handed. So he feels joyful in giving. He delights in giving, devoted to almsgiving because he's able to do so. So here you find the Buddha teaches almost like a duty of the rich. If you have a lot, it is your duty, your task to share with others who have less or have nothing. And the last quality, delighting to have a share in giving. This means this good layperson feels happy when others are giving dana and he wants to join in. That's one meaning. Another meaning is he doesn't do it alone. He also invites others to join him and they do it together for a couple of good reasons. Number one, there is camaraderie. And number two, of course, you save. Imagine you have to, if you are giving dana to 100 monks, it's quite a lot for one person, right? So you have a group of people doing it together and there's this joy in giving as a group. So this is the last sentence refers to that, right? So this is accomplishment in charity. Now we come to the fourth one, and this is the very important one. This is the practice, the actual practice. What is the accomplishment of wisdom, panya sampada? Here, Vyaggha, the son of family, is wise, possesses wisdom directed to the rising and falling away of phenomena. That is noble and penetrative, leading to the complete destruction of suffering. That's the magic phrase, destruction of suffering. This Vyaggha is called the accomplishment of wisdom. So here, the Buddha is talking about mindfulness, talking about meditation, right? Not very serious or deep meditation, but in a phrase, the Buddha is encouraging us to do what is called the perception of impermanence. In all our waking life, always remember, everything changes, everything rises and falls away. And if you bear this in mind, you, in a sense, protect yourself mentally, emotionally. You see people change, things change. In Singapore, even buildings change, the situation change, the landscape change. So that is wisdom directed to the rising and falling away of things, phenomena, right? And when we do this regularly, this perception of impermanence, we build up this wonderful quality in us. And the Buddha says in 10 suttas in S25, chapter 25 of Samyutta, that you will surely attain stream winning in this life itself. In other words, we will reach the path in this life itself, meaning if we do not attain the path in this life, we will do so at the moment of passing away. Because this is habitual karma, this is karma we have been building up, and because we have been doing this so regularly, watching rise and fall of things, noting impermanence of things, we are not attached to life. We do not fear death. We die happy, in other words. So that brings us to stream winning. This is, to put it very simply, this is from S25. There are 10 suttas in S25, and all the 10 gives, each of the 10 gives us the same message to practice perception of impermanence. And this leads to stream winning. So there you are. This completes the teaching on the 4 blessings of the mundane blessing of this life and 4 blessings of the spiritual life. So now the Buddha closes the teaching. He says, these are the 4 things that lead to the welfare and happiness of a son of family in the world to come. And then the sutta closes in verse form. Everything is spoken by way of summary. Industrious, heedful, skilled in his work, living a balanced life, protecting his wealth, faithful, accomplished in virtue, generous, free from avarice, he forever clears his path to well-being hereafter. Right, so here, all those 4 blessings of mundane life is mentioned here. Here, living that way, the Buddha said, we clear the path. In other words, we approach the path of awakening through this kind of practice. Thus, for the faithful son of family, these 8 things have been declared by the one whose name is truth to bring happiness in both worlds, to welfare in this world and to happiness hereafter. Thus, for such a man, charity grows as merit. This last line is very beautiful. Charity grows as merit. So whatever good you do, they help you, right? So here ends the sutta. And these are, these are the 8 things we should remember. Okay.
Sadhu, Piya, thank you for the wonderful teaching. Now we have our Q&A session. Over to you, Sister Aisin.
Thank you, Sister Ratna. Thank you, Brother Piya, for the teaching. Dear brother and sister, you're welcome to raise your hand and or unmute yourself to ask your questions. Brother Peter, at the moment, there's no question in the chat box.
Okay, that's good. Anytime you're ready, just tap your hand, or you can type your question. Now, while waiting for questions, let me just explain something I mentioned earlier on. I mentioned that the 4 qualities the Buddha gave in terms of spiritual welfare, faith, moral virtue, charity, and wisdom can be expanded into 10 stages of the gradual path. That is the teaching in more detail, in other words, right? So here, in the case of the 10 stages of Buddhist training, it starts, interestingly, with spiritual friendship. Number 1 is associating with true individuals, with people who are examples by their practice, right? And because through such people, we are very likely to listen to the true teaching, to the Dhamma. So this is the second step, listening to the Dhamma. And when we listen to the Dhamma, the true Dhamma, not just any Dhamma, but teachings connected with the suttas, with early Buddhism, we gain faith. As I mentioned to you, faith meaning you know you can do it, you feel the joy and peace inside you, and it gives you this confidence. And when you have this kind of faith, that's number 3, there is this quality of wise attention. You are able to direct your mind properly in a way to see impermanence. That is number 4. And when you have this wise attention, you see this impermanence in all things, including yourself. You practice mindfulness as well as awareness, sati sampajanya. In other words, mindfulness here is directing the mind towards the object, and the awareness is noticing it in more detail. All right. And with this mindfulness and awareness, you also know how to restrain your senses. You know how to hold back your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and also the mind. In other words, you keep these tools of learning and growing safe and helpful to you on the path. Sense restraint is number 6. And through sense restraint, you are able to protect your body, speech, and mind by doing good through these 3 doors of action, the 3 good actions, okay? And the 3 good actions here, number 7, refers to the practice, or rather is the foundation of the practice of the 4 satipatthanas, the 4 focuses of mindfulness. In other words, you learn to watch your body, like doing your breath meditation. You begin to notice the nature of feelings, nature of the mind, and then you notice dhammas arising in your mind. And then that leads to the 7 awakening factors. Those are the stages that bring you closer to the path. And finally, number 10, you attain the knowledge and freedom. You know what nirvana is, and you also become free on account of it. So this is the higher stage. So these are the 10 found in A 10.61, the Ahara Sutta. So just to give you this elaboration on the 4 points of spiritual welfare, which is summarized here for the lay people. Okay, any questions?
Yes, Brother Piya, there's a question from Brother Ryan Goff. Sadhu Bante. Abstinence of sexual misconduct versus celibacy is not the same thing. Is celibacy a higher degree of conduct for happiness cultivation?
Okay, actually, yeah, they are, in a sense, I think they're the same. Celibacy, brahmacharya. Celibacy means you take upon yourself, whether you're married or not, you observe this rule of abstention, basically, for good reason. For example, precept day, or you go on retreat. The idea here is not that sex is evil or anything like that. I mean, sex is function in the family. Here, the meaning is that you want to collect, you want to keep in within yourself all this creative energy, so that you focus on the mind, because the sexuality is the energy of the body, purely the body, in a manner of speaking. So it can drain mental energy, in other words, right? Someone said that sex is the most selfish human act, and that's a very interesting thing to say. Anyway, so we let go of that faculty for a while, so that we can focus on the mind, because it's the mind that helps to bring the best out of us as a human being, make us divine beings even. It is through the mind. So on precept day, or when we are doing meditation, that practice of celibacy is useful in that sense. It's a voluntary practice, and something we should understand and practice it if we can, and we need to. Okay. All right. Next question.
Thank you, Brother Piya. There's no more question at the moment.
Okay, we're 15 minutes, so do ask the questions that we can use this time usefully. Now, if you find this sutta useful, then and you understand it well enough, the next sutta you can go on to is the Sigalo Vada Sutta, which has been translated also. You can ask us for the latest translation if you want, or you can download from our website. Sigalo Vada Sutta. I can't remember what is the SD number. Anyone remember the SD number?
Probably volume 4, I think.
Okay, let's see. Sigalo Vada Sutta.
4.10?
4.1.
4.1, yeah, sorry, 4.1.
4.1, yes. SD 4.1. The sutta is D number 31. Okay. All right. Any more questions? Any question related to Buddhism?
Yeah, just on the 10 things that you mentioned, what are they called?
There's no specific name for them, but it's found in A10.61. It's Ahara Sutta. I can't remember it's a full title at this point, but
Ahara Sutta?
yeah, the word Ahara is there. So anyway, ST 31.10. It's found in ST 31.10. Okay. It discusses on the these 10 steps, each of them is the food for the next one, is the basis for the next step. That is what Sutta is about. Yes, inviting questions.
Yes, right here there's a question from Rashmi Manwatka.
Yeah, I think I've just answered that question.
Yeah,
Sigala Sutta.
yeah.
Yeah. So just remember, Sigala Sutta. You can read it for yourself. You can download, or better still, just contact us. We'll send you the latest one. The Pali number D31, and ST number is 4.1. ST 4.1. Okay. If you can't remember any of this, just say, can you please send me the Buddha's long teaching for lay people, which you mentioned, okay? I will know which one to send.
Well, here there's another.
Sorry, I type in my question, but I'm new to this. How do I send it? How do I?
Go ahead. You can ask just like that.
Okay. Basically, my question is, I have no problems with what the Buddha said in terms of physical well-being, diligence, watchfulness, friendship, balanced living. My difficulty with the second half, I can understand the ethical value when you're talking about number 2, number 3, even number 4, virtue, generosity, and wisdom. But I can't figure out how faith adds to.
Okay, in the Buddhist context, you mean?
Yes,
right?
in the Buddhist context. How does that add to spiritual welfare in terms of what you do with your life?
Sure.
Because to me, faith is a religious word. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, yes, faith can be religious if you believe in something that seems to be beyond yourself, something higher than yourself, something which you will never reach, for example. Yeah. But here, it's just the opposite. Here, saddha, faith, means, well, that is why some translators avoid using the word faith. They use confidence. But I think confidence kind of misses the whole point, because faith has to do with the heart, feeling, joy. The joy aspect is very important. You see something, you feel happy about it. You see goodness in others, you feel happy about it. It's the happiness aspect which is very important, which gives you that faith, meaning you know that this person is reliable, this person makes you happy, and this person has something good to tell you. So this is where we do not judge this word, or we do not, how should I say, we do not validate this word through any other religion. In other words, a lot of Westerners have difficulty. I have close friends overseas, in Western countries, who find certain words like this very hard to accept. They say, oh dear, this is found in other religions. We don't want to think about it that way. I said, well, you should not let other religions define your life, define the way you think. Just learn to let it go and look at this word. It's just a word. Nobody owns the word. Look at it anew. Okay, that's one way of putting it. Words are how we use it. All right. Of course, there are certain words in certain religions which are very unique to them. Yeah, of course, we wouldn't use those words. But there are words like good, bad, happy, faith. They are universal words. So we define them ourselves. So in a sense, it's good you ask this question. You're asking me, how do the Buddhists, or how does the Buddha define this term, right? So saddha, I think it comes from the root dha, meaning to establish yourself in something. So you find this grounding where and joy is a very important grounding. You feel happy to hear the suttas, to practice the meditation, and that's what keeps you going. And the word for that feeling is faith in the Buddhist sense. So this, very different from faith in other religions, in other words. So I don't know whether that helps to clear your doubts here. So in other words, you look at it as something that's happening to you right here, right now, through self-reliance, by your own effort. There is this joy that helps you to know things, understand things for yourself. And it is this knowing and understanding that brings this joy to you, that brings you on to the other aspects. It doesn't stop there, in other words, not faith alone, but it is the step to the next one. It is moral virtue. It's expressed in your body and speech. And then this charity, you share with others what you have, what you are, and then you learn what's going on here, and that's the wisdom aspect. So how does that go, Saint John? I hope it helps in some way.
Yeah, it's okay for the meantime. I guess what I'm responding to really is my study of Buddhism gives me the impression that whatever teachings it has is immediately verifiable. So if you ask me, virtue is verifiable, generosity is verifiable, the benefits of wisdom is verifiable, but faith, you know, how do I fit that in?
Right. Take it as joy. You feel this joy in something you know, and that is verifiable too. Wouldn't you agree? You know it for yourself. You feel happy. You feel good. Would you accept that as verifiable too? If I ask you, are you happy? You know it, right? You can tell me whether you're happy or not.
No. Then we're going to get into a big debate, because my answer to everyone who asks me, are you happy? My answer is happiness is not a very important question to me.
Okay, all right. Okay, I mean, Saint John here he's a preacher himself, so he knows. He and I we are old friends. We talk a lot about this. So yeah. Anyway, I think we can settle by saying someone feels happy in some way, and this person says it, and to that extent we can accept what this person says, especially when he's a friend and we're studying the same thing. We don't want to make it too theological or too philosophical. And you find on a simple level, we can accept this. People are happy, you look at them, they're radiant. You go to the temple, you find a lot of people are like that, hopefully, So you find you can connect with them because of that. That's my point. I don't want to take it too, too big and make it something else, all right? Okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, 5 more minutes. All right, anyone else?
Thank you, Brother Piya. There's an unrelated topic question from Brother Ryan Go.
Yeah, sure.
You mentioned that now that COVID is not a big hindrance anymore, would Bante consider a get-together teaching place, face-to-face teaching, maybe in Malacca?
In where, sorry?
In Malacca.
I would love to travel, but age is really catching up. I think one day, yes, I will travel. And if there are people who love to gather and discuss Dhamma, yeah, I used to do that with KL those days, the pre-COVID days. Yeah, we have this stream winning group. There were really serious people who aspire to stream winning. That's amazing. The group is still there, but we have not gathered together because of the COVID. Yeah, just keep in touch with Ratna, communicate, and we see. Maybe plan something ahead and see what happens. All right. Yeah, I'm sure it'd be nice to travel. Now, currently, I only travel from here to the Lake Gardens to exercise, which is the most beautiful place in Singapore. You have to see that place. Otherwise, you've never seen Singapore. It's like a zoo combined with an aviary and a beautiful park. It's a really amazing place for exercise. And there are lots of trees there for on weekdays, less people there, you can do your meditation also. It's a huge place, by the way. It's a Jurong Lake Gardens. Yeah. Any other question?
Chinese New Year blessings to you, Teacher
Yes,
Piya,
to you, Pamuja.
Ratna, everybody.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah,
and
same to you.
good health.
Okay.
I just want to add about the faith thing.
Yeah.
Just now brother mentioned. To me, faith is more like loyalty. Like you must have faith in the Buddha. Otherwise, if you don't have faith, then you can't carry on. You can't carry on your path because you don't have
Okay.
faith. There's nothing there, There's nothing there. So there's no faith. There's no going on. That's what my
Okay.
opinion. Sorry for my 5-cent input. And the other thing
Okay.
about the wealth thing, it's a wealth thing. I think you notice all the nightclubs, all the rich people are the one who goes there for the, to enjoy their life in the nightclubs and so on.
Mm.
Probably they have a lot of riches, so they can do all that. But for the normal people, they can't afford to, spend the money like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I guess the Buddha is trying to tell us that we
Yeah.
should control our lives and we
Yeah.
don't squander our wealth.
Okay, this reminds me of a very nice story, a very sweet story about the lady Vyaggha, I think. She was one day standing in the balcony in the morning, fanning the father-in-law. He's having his breakfast. And then a monk comes along, all right? A monk comes along, a monk just stands there. Of course, he comes together to collect alms. And the father-in-law, he's not a Buddhist, so he doesn't care about them. And this daughter-in-law, she's very sharp, So she put her palms together to the monks and say, Bhante, you have to excuse my father-in-law. He's eating stale food. That's what the Vyaggha says. And the monk goes away. And then the father-in-law got very upset. The father-in-law then turns to her and said, what do you mean I'm eating stale food? I'm a rich man and this is freshly cooked food. And this is where Vyaggha takes us a lesson. Vyaggha tells the father-in-law, say, yes, you are rich and you are enjoying all this wealth. It's from your past good karma. So you're getting all this food. But it is still food because you're not creating good karma. Here comes this monk who's giving you a chance to just get a bit of food from your bowl. You won't even do that. So you're just eating your past old food. That is why it's still food. And of course, the father was amazed at his intelligence. In fact, the father-in-law was so impressed, later call her mother, and that's how she's called Megara's mother. And then you got this Megara's mother's palace. She built up this place and she's called by that. So she's very wise, among the wisest of the lay women, the Lady Vyaggha. All right, it's almost time now. Any last minute questions? We're going to end in a couple
Thank you for your teaching.
Yeah.
We'll take a group photo.
Group photo, please. Okay, show yourself. Yes, this is the time for a group photo. Yes, good to see you all. Some of you are very new. It's good to see. Okay. Yes. Okay.
Rashmi, do you have a camera?
Yes. Rashmi Manwaka. No, I think no photo, huh?
Got
Next time.
video.
Yeah, next time try to get video. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Yan Kui, for your message. Actually, we have Wing Soon, are you there? Okay, get ready. New Year photo.
Okay. Smile.
Right. Thank you.
One more time. Smile. Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Well, our group is almost family. We can chat anytime. We feel a sense of closeness when we gather. All right, so no more questions, huh? So we will close with a reflection. Right, so this is our second Lunar New Year study. We have spent about 2 hours here. Even if you come late, you have made an effort. Remember, we have gathered here to keep the precepts. We did some meditation. We also studied Sutta and asked questions. All these good actions on our part, by the virtue of all this good we have done, may we be well and happy. May our loved ones to be well and happy. This is a very good moment to send your kind thoughts to your loved ones, even those who are a bit distant from you. Send your kind thoughts to them, wish them well and happy wherever they are. And of course, this is a moment we share together from different parts of the world to show our gratitude to Buddha by bowing down after in a moment to the Dhamma, his teaching, and to the holy community of those who have benefited from his teaching to become streamliners, once returners, non-returners, and arahats. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Bow down. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Bow down. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Bow down. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.